I'm currently hiding out at my friend's place because I'm too freaked out to stay in my own apartment. Why? Because I found a hidden camera inside the smoke detector in my bedroom. Yes, you read that right. My landlord, I strongly suspect, has been spying on me. This all started yesterday. I live in a small one-bedroom apartment on the second floor of a house that was converted into 2 units. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and I live alone here. My landlord is a man in his 50s who lives a few blocks away. It's a month-to-month lease. I moved in about 6 months ago, and up until now, it's been pretty okay, aside from him being a bit overbearing at times. A few things about my landlord. Let's call him John. He's always been a little too nosy for my comfort. He doesn't live on site, but he's come over unannounced a couple of times just to check in, or do minor inspections. Like once he said he needed to check the water heater, but then lingered and made small talk in a way that made me uneasy. He's never done anything overtly inappropriate, but I've definitely caught him glancing at me in a way that gave me the creeps on a couple occasions. I mostly brushed it off as him being socially awkward or lonely or something, but now I'm thinking there was a lot more to it. About a month ago, John mentioned he was going to install new smoke detectors in both units for safety and insurance reasons. Seemed legit enough. He came by, I let him in, and he swapped out the detectors. One in my bedroom ceiling and one in the living room/kitchen area. I remember he seemed in a hurry when doing it, and I jokingly said, "Doing some big upgrades, huh?" And he just replied something like, "Gotta protect my investment. Can't have the place burning down." At the time, I didn't think twice about it. Why would I? Smoke detectors are normal. Flash forward to yesterday. I was dusting, a rare event, but hey, it happens. And I decided to dust the ceiling fan and smoke detectors. I'm short, so I grabbed my stepladder. When I went to dust the detector in my bedroom, I noticed the cover was slightly crooked, like it wasn't snapped all the way in. That was odd. I figured maybe when he installed it, it didn't click in right. I've never messed with it, and it's just me here, so it must have been like that since installation. I got curious, and honestly a bit annoyed thinking he did a shoddy job. So I twisted the detector cover off the base to reposition it properly. When I did, the whole unit came off the mounted plate, and I noticed there was a small device inside the detector that did not look like a regular smoke detector component. It was a tiny black box with wires, wedged in next to the battery. At first I was like, is this some kind of secondary sensor? But it had a little lens on the front, pointing out through what looked like a pinhole in the detector's plastic casing. My heart just about stopped. I thought, no frickin' way. Is this a camera? I carefully pulled the black box out. It was small, maybe 2 inches. Sure enough, it had what clearly looked like a teeny tiny camera lens on one side, and on the other side was a micro SD card slotted in, plus a small battery attached. I felt like I was going to throw up when I realized what I was holding. It was a hidden camera rig. Someone had installed it inside the smoke alarm, facing my bed. I literally sat down on my bed shaking for a minute, trying to process. Once the shock and panic set in, I started tearing the place apart looking for more. There was another smoke detector in the living/kitchen area. I climbed up and checked that. Thank God, it was just a normal one. I opened it up too, nothing unusual inside. I combed the bathroom, checking the vent fan, the light fixtures, even the outlets for anything weird. I didn't find anything else, but honestly, I'm not 100% sure I know what to look for. The smoke detector one was obvious once I opened it, but who knows if there's like a tiny pinhole camera hidden somewhere that I missed? The paranoia is intense, so the only thing I found was the camera in the bedroom detector, which is more than enough to completely violate my sense of safety and privacy. I am horrified. I feel sick, disgusted, and furious all at once. The first thing I did was call my best friend, whose place I'm at now. She came over immediately and was equally shocked. We debated what to do: confront the landlord? Call the police? In the end, we decided I needed to get out of there ASAP for the night and think this through somewhere else. So I grabbed some essentials and left. Before leaving, I put the smoke detector back up on the ceiling, but I took out the little camera and have it with me as evidence. I also took pictures of it and the way it was installed. Now I'm at my friend's house, and we're trying to figure out my next steps. I'm leaning towards going straight to the police with this thing. I mean, this has to be seriously illegal, right? My friend is of the same mind. She actually wanted to call the cops last night immediately. I held off only because it was late, and I felt safer just getting out of there and not tipping off my landlord yet. Also, I was, and still am, in shock. I needed a minute to collect myself and not be a hysterical mess when making a police report. It's morning now, and I barely slept. I kept waking up in a panic thinking I could see a camera lens somewhere in my friend's guest room. Probably irrational, but that's how on edge I am. I'm drinking coffee and writing this because I need to tell someone and get some advice or validation that this is as insane as it feels. Some additional info and thoughts. I'm almost certain it was the landlord who put this here. The smoke detector was installed by him personally, and the fact that there was nothing in the other one in the living area, which he also installed, is interesting. Why only the bedroom? The cynical answer: that's where I change clothes, sleep, sometimes naked or in minimal clothing, and possibly have intimate moments. It's by far the creepiest place to put a camera to spy on someone. Also, my landlord is the only person with a key to my apartment aside from me. There's no sign of a break-in or anything, so unless some contractor he hired did this without his knowledge, seems unlikely, it's gotta be him. The camera had a micro SD card. I haven't viewed what's on it yet. To be honest, I'm almost afraid to see. It feels so violating to think that there might be footage of me, maybe dressing, sleeping, etc., on that card. But at the same time, that card is evidence. I'm thinking I should carefully put it in a Ziploc or something to preserve fingerprints and give it straight to the police without tampering. Part of me wants to know how long this has been going on and what exactly he's seen, but I'm not sure I can handle watching it myself. Maybe the police can tell me, or maybe I should have a friend check. I don't know. I did a little reading on hidden camera laws, because of course I went down a Google rabbit hole at 3 a.m. And yeah, this is absolutely illegal. Landlords can install security cameras covering the outside of the property or common areas, but inside a rented unit? And hidden? Hell no. That's a gross violation of privacy, and in many places it's a criminal offense to record someone in a private space without their knowledge, especially if nudity could be recorded, like a bedroom or bathroom. So I'm pretty sure I'm within my rights to go after him legally. I'm worried about confronting him directly. Who knows how he'll react? If he is indeed a pervert who's been filming me, he might freak out when he realizes he's caught. He has keys to my place, and while I've now removed the camera, what's to stop him from trying to destroy evidence or retaliate? For all I know, he could have other cameras I didn't find, or copies of the footage elsewhere. It's so unsettling. I don't feel safe going back to that apartment, knowing what I know now. I'm also so angry. I feel violated in a way I can't even fully describe. The thought that for a month, maybe longer, he's been watching me in my own home. I have no words. I trusted that I could live alone safely, and that my landlord would respect my privacy, aside from the occasional maintenance stuff. Now every memory of the past weeks is cast in a creepy light. Like, I remember one day he texted me out of the blue asking if everything was okay. At the time I thought he was just being a concerned landlord, because he knew I was new to the city. Now I wonder if he saw me upset about something on camera and took that as an opportunity to reach out. This might be far-fetched, but my mind is spinning all kinds of scenarios. I also have a weird fear that maybe I'm wrong somehow. Like, what if this camera was left by a previous tenant or something, and my landlord genuinely didn't know? But that seems implausible. The device looked new-ish, and the way it was installed so neatly in the detector he put in, nah, that's intentional. And even if a prior tenant did it, which again, why would they? It's still on the landlord for not checking the detector he installed. Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually the correct one, which is that John did this. So, game plan. I'm going to go to the police today and file a report. I'll bring the camera and the SD card as evidence, and the photos I took. I'll also have them come with me to the apartment if possible, because I do need to eventually go back and get more of my stuff, and I'd rather not be there alone or run into the landlord alone. I'm also considering reaching out to a lawyer, or at least the local tenants union, if we have one, to inform them and see what my rights are regarding breaking my lease, etc. I sure as hell am not going to continue living there after this. I don't care if I have to break the lease and move in a hurry. I'm done. I'm trying to stay calm and rational so I can handle this smartly, but part of me is freaking out big time. I'm worried about what might happen when the landlord realizes what's up. Will he try to delete evidence or run? Will he retaliate against me somehow? He doesn't know that I found the camera yet. I assume, since I put the detector back. If he's monitoring remotely somehow, maybe he saw me discover it. But I don't think this model had wireless transmission. It was literally just a memory card inside, no obvious transmitter. If it was recording to the SD card, he likely would have to retrieve the card to view footage. So maybe he hasn't seen anything since I found it. I'm posting this here to not only vent, but also gather any advice from people who might have dealt with something similar or have legal knowledge. Am I taking the right steps? Is there anything else I should be doing to secure myself here? I have evidence in hand. I think the next step is absolutely law enforcement. I feel like once I hand it over to the cops, this situation's going to escalate fast. I'm so on edge. I keep thinking about every shower I took, every time I changed clothes, times I had my boyfriend over. Thank God that was only once or twice in the last month due to COVID concerns, but still. Was he watching those? Is there footage of those intimate moments? I feel sick. Anyway, I'm going to finish my coffee, gather all the evidence and notes, and head to the police station. Wish me luck. I'll update when I can, hopefully once I have some action taken. And to anyone reading, please check your smoke detectors and any weird devices if you ever have even a tiny suspicion. I almost ignored that crooked cover. If I hadn't been randomly dusting, I might never have noticed, and I'd still be living blissfully unaware of the creep recording me in my home. TLDR, found a hidden camera inside the smoke detector in my bedroom. Landlord installed that detector a month ago, so I'm sure it's him. I'm feeling completely violated and unsafe, and I'm going to involve the police. Looking for advice or validation because I'm shaken to my core. Update 1. I have a lot to update on, and thankfully most of it is positive in terms of action being taken. It's been about 24 hours since my original post. First, thank you to everyone who commented with support and advice. It really validated that I wasn't overreacting and helped me stay strong and focused. Yesterday, after posting, I went to the police department with my friend, let's call her Marisa, for support. I brought the hidden camera device and the SD card, sealed in a plastic bag, as well as the photos I took. Let me just say, the police took this extremely seriously. I spoke to a detective after explaining the situation to the front desk. The moment I showed him the device and the pictures of where I found it, his face kind of darkened, and he said, "You did the right thing coming in. This is very illegal." They took the camera and SD card as evidence, logged everything, and asked me to make a formal statement. I was still pretty shaken up giving the statement, but having Marisa there helped me keep it together. The detective asked a ton of questions about my landlord, the timeline, how I found the camera, etc. I mentioned the smoke detector replacement and every sketchy incident I could recall. They seemed particularly interested in the fact that he installed it recently and that he's the only one with access to the apartment besides me. They didn't view the footage on the card right then in front of me, but they did label it as evidence and said their tech people would handle securing the data. I asked if I could know what was on it, dreading the answer, but needing to know. The detective gently said that they'd have to review it as part of the investigation and that it could potentially be used in court, so he couldn't let me or anyone else tamper with it. But he assured me that if it contained footage of me in compromising situations, they'd treat it with sensitivity, and it would be handled as criminal evidence. After I gave my statement, things moved pretty fast. The police went to my apartment with me. 2 uniformed officers accompanied Marisa and me, so I could officially show them where I found the camera and also grab more of my personal belongings. I was adamant that I wasn't staying there another night, and they totally understood. I retrieved some clothes, my important documents, laptop, etc., while the officers looked around to see if there were any other hidden devices. They did a more thorough sweep with my permission. No other cameras were found, and trust me, they checked vents, appliances, even used a device to scan for RF signals or something. Nothing else pinged. That was a relief on one hand, though the single camera was bad enough. While we were there, one of the officers noted that the smoke detector casing in the bedroom, where I found the cam, had a tiny drilled hole in it, presumably for the camera lens to see through. He pointed it out to the other officer and they took close-up photos of that as well. It was pretty clear evidence of tampering. Here's something that gave me chills. While I was packing my stuff, my landlord called my phone. I saw his name flash on the screen and showed the officer. He said, "Don't answer that," so I let it ring. No voicemail. Then he texted me, "Hey, I got a notification that there's an issue with the smoke detector. Is everything okay?" I almost threw up reading that because 1, it basically confirms he's monitoring it somehow, or at least knew I'd messed with it, and 2, what a creepy passive-aggressive way to see if I'd discovered it. I didn't respond. The officers told me not to. Instead, the detective later reached out to him on my behalf. By the time we left the apartment, the police told me they would be obtaining a warrant to search my landlord's residence and any electronic devices he has. They also said they planned to bring him in for questioning/arrest him as soon as they had enough evidence from the SD card. I went back to Marisa's after collecting my stuff. I was still on edge, but feeling a bit better knowing the police were on the case. Later that evening, the detective called me with an update. The SD card did indeed contain multiple video files of me in my bedroom. He didn't go into detail, and honestly I didn't want details. But he said, "There is unquestionably illegal footage on here. We see you in various states of undress, etc. This more than justifies an arrest." I remember just feeling a mix of relief, that I wasn't imagining or overreacting, and absolute violation again. Even though I knew it was likely, hearing official confirmation that he'd actually recorded me. I had to sit down and cry after I hung up. Marisa was a huge comfort, basically hugging me and letting me curse about what a disgusting piece of garbage that man is. Later that night, last night, I got another call that the police had arrested John, the landlord. They picked him up at his home. Apparently, he initially acted surprised and said something like, "What is this about?" But when they mentioned a warrant and hidden camera, he clammed up. They searched his house and seized his computer and some other electronics. The detective said that they would analyze all of that, and that I might not hear details until they do, but he reassured me that at this point it was basically an open and shut case from a criminal standpoint. They had him in custody, and he was likely going to face multiple charges: illegal surveillance, violation of privacy, possibly others. I can't even express the relief I felt. I mean, I'm still very rattled and I'm processing a lot of emotions, but knowing he's not out there walking free and that he won't be able to mess with anyone else's privacy tonight allows me to breathe a little easier. On top of the criminal action, I also contacted a local tenant advocacy group and a lawyer. The advocacy group helped refer me to one who deals with landlord violations. Even though the criminal case is underway, I want to make sure I can break my lease without penalty and possibly even sue this creep for damages. The lawyer was appalled and basically said, "You're absolutely entitled to terminate your lease immediately for cause, and we can pursue civil action once the criminal side is a bit more settled." So that's in the works too. It's not my top priority right now, but it's good to know my rights are protected. I also spoke briefly with the tenant in the downstairs unit. It's a middle-aged guy who lives there. I was vague about specifics, since it's an ongoing investigation, but I told him that the landlord had been caught doing something very disturbing related to hidden surveillance, and he might want to check his space. The police ended up talking to him too, and from what I hear, they did not find any cameras in his unit. Seems like, as I suspected, I was the target. The downstairs tenant is an older man, so yeah, fits the creep's likely motives that he only targeted me, a younger woman. So as of now, I'm safe at my friend's place. My landlord is in police custody. I'm officially out of that apartment. I'm not stepping foot back there, and the lawyer said we can formally notify him/management company of lease termination later, which is a formality, given he's now a freaking criminal. I might stay with Marisa for a couple weeks while I figure out a new housing situation. I'm definitely never renting a place owned by an individual again if I can help it. I might stick to larger apartment complexes, though those aren't foolproof either, but it feels less likely to have something like this happen. Emotionally, I'm all over the place. I'm angry, I'm relieved, I'm traumatized, I'm grateful. Last night I barely slept again, even though I knew he was behind bars. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that little camera lens, or imagined him watching me. I know it'll take time to get over that feeling. I'm going to look into therapy because I feel like this level of violation, knowing that my most private moments might have been observed by some creeper, it's going to mess with me for a while. A few of you suggested in comments to get therapy and to lean on friends, and you're absolutely right. I'm lucky to have a friend like Marisa who has been my rock through all this. She's been helping me distract myself. We binged a feel-good show last night until I fell asleep on the couch. The detective told me I might need to testify eventually if this goes to trial, but there's also a chance the landlord will take a plea deal given the mountain of evidence. Either way, I'm prepared to do whatever I need to do to make sure he answers for this. For now, I'm going to try to rest and take care of myself. I will likely post another update when there's more to share, like if we find out more about what he recorded, or if anything else comes to light. But I wanted to let you all know that I'm safe, and that something is being done. The wheels of justice are turning. Again, thank you to everyone who validated my gut instincts. If anyone reading this ever finds themselves in a similar situation, trust your intuition, collect evidence safely, and involve the authorities. Don't confront a creep like this on your own. Let the law handle it. I'll update again when I can. Hug your friends and stay safe. Update 2. It's been about 2 weeks since my last update, and life has been a whirlwind. I wish I could say I'm past all this, but the truth is I'm still very much dealing with the aftermath. However, I do have some significant updates on the situation with my, now former, landlord and the investigation. First, on the practical side, I'm no longer staying at my friend's place. With her help and the help of the tenants group, I was able to find a short-term sublet, a furnished studio, where I'll be for the next few months. It's in a building with lots of security, and ironically the first thing I did when I moved in was inspect every inch for any hidden devices. I felt a little crazy doing it, but I just can't help it. The trauma has made me extremely vigilant. Paranoid might be a better word. The landlord of this new place, a large property company, probably thought I was odd when I grilled them about who has keys and how often they enter the units, but whatever, I need that peace of mind. Now regarding the police and the ex-landlord, John, the investigation uncovered even more disturbing information than I anticipated. The detective kept me in the loop as much as he could. They performed a forensic analysis of John's computer and other electronics. What they found makes my skin crawl. He had a whole stash of voyeuristic videos, including many of me from the camera in my apartment. The footage dates back to when he installed the camera, so roughly a month's worth of my private life recorded. Detective said there were dozens of clips/files, sorted by date and time. The thought that he likely watched all of that. I have to compartmentalize, or I'll go crazy. But it gets worse. They found evidence that I was not his first victim. There were folders with women's names or initials on his drives. From what the detective implied, he was careful with details, but I picked up enough. It seems at least 2 other former female tenants were recorded in a similar fashion. One of those folders had videos from over a year ago, which likely corresponds to the tenant who lived in my unit before me. I vaguely remember John mentioning a young woman lived there before I did. The police have actually contacted at least one of those women, so this bastard has been doing this repeatedly. One piece of news that hit me hard. Some of the footage had been shared online. Apparently, he had been part of some disgusting online community or dark web thing, I'm not sure on the details, where people anonymously share voyeur videos. The detective said it looks like he posted a few clips, possibly of past tenants. They are still investigating the extent of it, and they've contacted whatever platforms to remove the content, and hopefully trace whoever else is involved. I was assured that any videos of me that they found evidence of online have been requested to be taken down. But honestly, the internet is the internet. Once it's out there, it's out there. Knowing that some creeps out there might have seen me in my most private moments, without me even knowing, it makes me feel literally ill. I had to excuse myself to go throw up when I heard that part. It's one thing to have been spied on. It's another to learn that the footage may have been leered at by random strangers online. I feel violated on a whole new level. The good news is that this will seriously amplify the charges against him. We're talking federal crimes potentially, because distributing sexually explicit videos of someone without consent, especially across state lines or on the internet, can invoke federal statutes. So he's in even deeper shit than initially thought. His life as a free man is basically over for the foreseeable future, if not forever. Good riddance. As for the legal process, John is still in custody. Bail was set very high, into 6 figures, due to the severity and creepy nature of the crimes. And, last I heard, he hadn't posted it. And I doubt he will, given the evidence against him is overwhelming. There's going to be a hearing soon, where more formal charges are presented. My detective contact said it's likely he'll be charged with multiple counts of felony voyeurism, invasion of privacy, possibly wiretapping laws violations, and now also charges related to creation and distribution of illicit material. It's a whole laundry list. My lawyer for the civil side has filed a civil suit as well, primarily to hold him financially accountable for this gross violation. It's more symbolic for me at this point. No amount of money really fixes this. But I want to ensure he can never do this to anyone else, and that maybe I get some resources to help rebuild my life, like paying for therapy, moving costs, etc., which I'm already racking up. The property management, which is basically just him, he owned the house outright, has been served notice of the lawsuit. Unsurprisingly, no response from his side yet. Emotionally, it's been a roller coaster. Some days I feel almost normal, like I can shove it aside and go about my day. Other days, I'll read a news article about a similar incident, or even just see a smoke detector in a public place, and my heart will start racing. I've started therapy with a counselor who specializes in trauma. Only had 2 sessions so far, but she has already given me helpful tools for anxiety and nightmares. Yes, nightmares are a thing now. I often dream that I'm being watched or that I'm in my apartment, and the walls are full of eyes or cameras. I wake up sweating and have to take a walk or do breathing exercises to calm down. Marisa, my friend, has been amazing throughout. She even offered to let me stay as long as I want, but I felt I needed to try living on my own again to reclaim a sense of normalcy. I'm glad I took the sublet, but I'll admit, that first night alone in the new studio, I barely slept. I kept getting up to triple-check the bathroom fan, and the smoke alarm, and under the bed. I feel like this experience has fundamentally changed the way I will feel in any space. Like I'll never 100% trust that I'm not being watched. Maybe that will fade with time in therapy, I hope so. I'm also angry, so angry. Some days the anger overtakes the fear. I fantasize about screaming in this guy's face in court, or seeing him thrown in prison for life. It makes me furious that someone who I paid rent to, someone who was supposed to be a professional, completely betrayed my trust and dehumanized me like this. I was just content in my little life minding my business, and he swept in and shattered any sense of safety I had. That anger is something I'm working through in therapy too, trying to channel it productively, hence pursuing the civil case, writing victim impact statements for when the time comes, etc. To those who have asked, yes, I will absolutely be giving a victim impact statement if this goes to sentencing, and possibly even speaking at any hearing where it's appropriate. I want the court to know how this has affected me. I know I'm one of likely several victims speaking out against him now. Actually, I haven't met them, but I was told the former tenant whose footage was found was also horrified and is cooperating with prosecution. I imagine she went through a similar nightmare. It's weird, I feel a kinship with people I've never met, just because we unfortunately were preyed upon by the same monster. Some folks also suggested I might develop trust issues with landlords or men in general after this. It's not lost on me that I'm now extremely wary of any situation that leaves me vulnerable. Even having maintenance people in my new place makes me anxious. I had a plumber fix a minor sink issue and I hovered the whole time, which I'm sure was annoying for him, but oh well. I'm hoping time will heal that to some extent. This will probably be my last major update for a while, since from here it's mostly legal proceedings and personal healing, which are both long processes. I might update once the case is fully resolved, but that could be months down the line. In the meantime, I'm focusing on reclaiming my life piece by piece. One thing this experience has taught me, and that I hate that I had to learn this way, is to be mindful of my personal security. I've purchased a couple of new gadgets, a radio frequency detector and a hidden camera lens finder. When I eventually move to a more permanent apartment, you can bet the first day I move in, I'll be scanning everything like a CIA sweep. It's unfortunate to live with that level of distrust, but it's the reality for now. I want to end this update with a huge thank you to the Reddit community and everyone who listened to my story, offered advice, or just expressed empathy. It really helped me not feel alone during some of the scariest days of my life. If my story can serve as a cautionary tale for others, please check your surroundings if something feels off. These kinds of situations are more common than we think, and often the victims only discover it by accident, like I did, or never at all.